As you may have known, I played nothing but Paragon for a few weeks at this point, and even found a decently functioning build. But as I continued playing, I couldn't shake the feeling that Paragon is still missing something critical for its success, as more than just a healbot that nobody asked for. And eventually I was matched on a side note against a good Spellbreaker. And it hit me. More precisely, he hit me in the face. Hard. Multiple times. But apparently my mind and ego needed that little bit of percussive maintenance, because it immediately made the gears start turning. If I say that Spellbreaker does more damage than Paragon, everyone will roll their eyes and wonder why I'm throwing a wrench into the goulash over common knowledge. But what if I told you that he achieves that with Attacker's Insight only? Before we continue, if you'll end up liking the video, there are buttons down there that help the channel. And you can also support me directly through Patreon and channel memberships like those generous gentlemen do. And so let us proceed to the goulash. Attacker's Insight is a trait providing, depending on game mode, 50 in PvE, 45 in PvP and 30 in multi-world of all 3 power damage stats, power, precision and ferocity, per stack, for up to 5 maximum stacks. You may have already noticed discrepancy between PvP and multi-world, where maximum bonuses from this trait are respectively 225 in PvP and 150 in 1v-world. And by the end of this segment, you'll be able to conclude why. But let us focus on PvP first. Due to amulets and runes having relatively standardized stat allocations, you can have maximum base power of 2375. As you can calculate, adding 225 to that, it's roughly 9.5% increase in power, meaning 9.5% increase in all power damage. But that's not the end of it, as we still get precision and ferocity. 225 precision is what we got from, for example, Rune of Infiltration, so you can quickly go and check that that equals to over 10% crit chance, 10.72% to be precise. Similarly, 225 ferocity equals to 15% increase to crit modifier, which we can easily double check by equipping Rune of Eagle, as it gives exactly that amount of ferocity. So if we take those two increases and stack them multiplicatively like they do in the game, we'll land on almost 26% damage increase. But then we will have to go out and wonder how much more stats we can allocate into power or ferocity, because we're getting free precision. If we need 225 less precision to attain crit cap, then we can theoretically put under 225 into either power or ferocity and attain more damage. And coincidentally, you can swap Rune of Infiltration for Rune of Scholar, which possesses the same amount of power as the Infiltration rune, but gives ferocity instead of precision, so we can conveniently get not 15, but 30% more crit damage, because of Attacker's Insight. But if we want to cut something else from the build, we can run more utility-focused trait lines, like Defense and Discipline, or utility relic like Wayfinder, and still maintain high crit chance. Every other warrior spec either has no available crit chance steroids, like Paragon doesn't, or have to opt out of utility to get that increase, like Berserker has to. And as you may have realized, having good access to precision steroids for a class that relies 90% on power damage alone is pretty important. With any set of traits and equipment, Spellbreaker will have consistently lower demand for precision than other warrior specs, and investing into utility doesn't hurt it as much, which simply means better flexibility in build crafting, which is an incredible benefit to any competitive focused elite spec or class. That additional bit of flexibility that getting free stats gives is also why Attacker's Insight in World v World only gives 150 of each stat, not 225 like PvP. But you might counter everything I just said with, but Attacker's Insight needs to be stacked up and upkept, it won't always work at 100% efficiency. To which I respond with, like every fornicating trait in Warrior's entire bloody arsenal. Let's say you just landed a level 1 burst. Your adrenal health, your Berserker's power, and all that jazz will work at half efficiency until you land another burst skill. And those stacks will also eventually time out, getting you back down to half efficiency. Risk pacing is based on your motivation threshold, which continuously tick down no matter what, so we have to put conscious effort into upkeeping it. All Berserker damage traits give you fuck all until you rage, with exception of Blood Reaction, which gives you half its bonuses outside rage. One noteworthy exception is Bladesworn's Guns and Glory, but it has 3 seconds of base duration, only activates on explosions, which only 3 warrior weapons even have access to, and is attached to a spec so well designed that it made a big streamer rage quit Guild Wars 2 entirely after less than a week of exposure.
Yeah, I'm gonna get off and just chill. W stream getting better. I feel like the stream's been terrible. I feel like my stream has been getting progressively worse and worse and worse the more I queue this game.
Moreover, the ease at which Spellbreaker gets stacks of Attacker's Insight cannot be understated. The stacks are rewarded upon landing any CC or removing any boon from any foe. There is no ICD on it, so hitting multiple targets with CC or boon removal, as well as hitting an enemy with both CC and boon rip, grants multiple stacks. Moreover, because of Dispelling Force, every CC landed also removes boons. Therefore, for example, in a fight against your typical opponent with, for example, Might and Fury on them, hitting a spear combo will generate 4 stacks of Attacker's Insight before we get to the burst. And that at no adrenaline cost whatsoever. Without exaggeration, the only trait that generates value easier than Attacker's Insight is Cleansing Ire, by giving you adrenaline for getting punched in the face. Meanwhile, remaining warrior specs have to not only generate and spend adrenaline before they get even a crumb of damage increase, but also have to sacrifice damage for utility, where Spellbreaker not only gets that 26% damage increase basically for existing, but also gets 10% crit chance, and his best utility trait for PvP, Magebane Tether, is also a damage increasing trait. Meanwhile, ArenaNet dances on the eggshells around other warrior specs and pretends that they don't see discrepancy. There's a reason why only meta Berserker build in PvP was a Condi Bunker. Only meta Bladesworn build in PvP was a Shout Spam Bunker, and Paragon doesn't even have a meta Bunker build. And that's all because you would have to slap additional 3 Berserker's power on each 3 of them for either to even start measuring up to Spellbreaker in power damage department. And I'm not saying that we specifically need to nerf Attacker's Insight. Just we need to equalize the elite specs in terms of power. We certainly don't have to be so bloody careful with Power Zerker, Paragon and Bladesworn when we're so carefree with Spellbreaker and his damage output. Let the damage specs do the bloody damage at least. And for the love of God, ArenaNet, rework Bladesworn already. You gave enough bad PR to your game by neglecting it for so long. And as always, a big sign of gratitude to all the generous supporters continuously considering my dubious quality content worth their money. You're all truly welcome. Crabface out.